session 4.2 of Module 4, Strategies of Trauma Stewardship. During the last session, we discussed vicarious trauma, how it can impact the lives of service providers like us, and the importance of trauma stewardship. It is important to have awareness about our stress, as the impact of it can be far-reaching. To manage the impact of vicarious trauma and stress in our lives, we require good self-care skills. Okay? So let me just ask you, what does the term self-care mean to you? What does self-care imply? Most of you may have thought of it as your me time, time to self, time for yourself, or doing what makes you happy. That is self-care, right? But what is self-care? Self-care refers to an understanding of your own personal response to stress, as well as what best helps you to recover from stressful events. It's a form of trauma stewardship. It is critical to discuss self-care because if we weren't healthy, we will be unable to help others. This is why it is so important that we take vicarious trauma and stress seriously. Okay? So let's consider these coping strategies that you know of that people use to, on how they manage their stress. And I think people like you as well. So what are some coping strategies people use? So there are many coping strategies that can help us maintain healthy living and manage our stress or even our vicarious trauma. We can consider these strategies as falling rather into three different categories. That of physical coping strategies, you have emotional or relational coping strategies, and spiritual coping strategies. So under physical strategies, you have regular exercise, sleep, 7 to 9 hours a night, healthy eating, drinking enough water, laughter, limited consumption of alcohol, relaxation techniques, massage, ito gusto natin yun, no? Repetitive activities such as walking, drawing, or cooking. Emotional strategies or emotional or relational strategies such as nurturing relationships, having regular time with your friends and family, talking to others, humor, making jokes, ongoing support groups, times of reflection. Example of these are journaling, meditating, or poetry. Next is creative activities such as drawing, painting, cooking, movies, books, and music, and balancing your priorities, counseling. Then lastly, you have the spiritual strategies such as knowing your own values, your principles in life, participate in a community of meaning and purpose, regular times of prayer, reading and meditation, spiritually meaningful conversations, singing or listening to meaningful music, contact with a religious leader or an inspiring individuals, time with art, nature, and music, and that sense of solitude. Okay? So some of us or some of your colleagues, some of our colleagues, and some or even some of the survivors may have spiritual coping strategies. They lots of prayer, they pray at night. So may mga ganyan. And hindi sa atin nalalayo yun bilang service providers. So we also have to value our spirituality. Okay? So there are some basic strategies that promote resiliency in service providers, and here are some tips for staying well. Number one, maintain flexibility and balance in your life as you deal with stressful circumstances and traumatic events. Let yourself experience strong emotions and also realize when you may need to avoid experiencing them at times in order to continue functioning. Number three, stepping forward to take action and also stepping backward to rest yourself. So at times, so we just go moving on, stepping forward, but we forget that we also have to step back if we think that we need rest. Rely on others and also rely on yourself. Make connections. Make connections with your family, friends, civic groups, faith-based organizations, or other local groups. Avoid seeing crisis as insurmountable problems. You can change how you interpret and respond to stressful events. Remember that. 7, you accept the change. That change is part of living. The only thing that is constant in life is change. That is something that is inevitable. 8, do something regularly, a routine, even if it is something that's very small, as long as it enables you to move toward your goals. That's fine. Okay. Next, let's continue. Take decisive actions rather than detaching completely and wishing problems and stresses would go away. 10th, look for opportunities for self-discovery. People often grow in some respect as a result of their struggle with loss. 11th, try to nurture a positive view of yourself. Develop confidence in your ability to solve problems. Try to trust your own instincts. 12, keep things in perspective. Keep a long-term perspective. Avoid blowing things out of proportion. 13, maintain a hopeful outlook in life. Expect that good things will happen in your life. Try to visualize what you want rather than worrying about what you fear. 14, take care of yourself, of course. Try to pay attention to your own needs and feelings. Try to engage in activities you enjoy and you find relaxing. Let's add one more to this. Number 15, accept your own limitations. Forgive yourself for your misgivings while learning from your mistakes. Okay? Sabi nga nila, di ba, tao lang naman tayo. So, nagkakamali. And we need to accept that we as humans do have limitations. Okay? So, self-care or self-care plans is a method service providers can, like us, can use for taking care of ourselves and able to create a simple self-care plan. Okay? A self-care plan is like a map for how you stay healthy. What we want to do during this time is create a plan that considers your personal response to stress and how you best recover from stressful events. The plan will include a self-assessment of your body's response related to physical symptoms, your physical reaction, your emotions connected to an event, the affective part, your thoughts and sensory reactions that are lingering following an event, your cognition. Fourth is your behavior when alone and with others, your actions. What do you do? And lastly, your spiritual connection to God during and after an event. Okay, so you have to assess all of this. What am I feeling in my body? My hands are trembling. I feel very worried. I'm very scared. Your thoughts, I think that um nothing good will happen because of this story. And the behavior is because of that. I don't want to be I don't want to be distracted by my other colleagues. So it's something like this. Ayan. So you have the physical, emotional, behavioral, relational, your connection, your relationships. Thinking, that's the cognitive part, and the spiritual. So you can have areas to consider. No? So you can use the self-care assessment chart, no, to record your intervention. So you can use this, no, in a sheet of paper. No, you can use this uh, so that you can have an awareness of what's happening and what to do, no, to yourself. Okay? Okay. These action plans, no, yung mga yung kanina, no, are incredibly important because in working with survivors of trauma, it's always possible that our own stuff, our experiences, our emotions, no, can get triggered. So we must be prepared to manage our own emotions when these things happen. We can do this by having positive coping skills in place and a self-care plan for how we will handle it. Okay, so you have your coping and you have your plan. What will I do? So these are some examples. No? Uh, Singing a song, rubbing lotion on your hand, sucking on sour candy are all grounding techniques. Okay? Grounding techniques produce sensations that are difficult to ignore or distract you from what's going on in your mind. So you can play with a candy, no, a candy wrapper, no, when you're anxious. This helps you directly and instantaneously connect with the present moment. Okay? Talking to someone you trust, it may not be a supervisor or a mentor or a coach, but it can be a colleague, it can be another staff, a staff in the other department. No? Take a break, try to rest. I always tell to people, you can have 5-minute break. I think in a world right now, which is we are forgetting to pause. Break is something that is abstract, but it's always that wala akong oras, I don't have time for it. But come to think of it, a 5-minute of silence, a 5-minute of walking, a 5-minute of eating can be something, it can do bigger, right? Imagine 5 minutes in a week, right? So that's 35 minutes. That's a 35-minute of break in a week. So at least you have 35 minutes, right? Next, be honest about what you need, not blaming. Okay? And remember your self-care plan. Okay? Most of you, because they do this before, no, it's easier for them. So they don't have the paper anymore. No? Basta alam na nila yung gagawin nila. But if you're a beginner, you can have this self-care plan to have so that you can see where to start, okay, rather than going all over. Okay? So for this session 4.2, these are the following learning points. First, we learned today that there are a variety of coping strategies people use to manage stress and vicarious trauma, some positives and some negatives. Okay? Having a self-care plan that is implemented regularly empowers service providers to remain healthy, despite their stressful working conditions. Uh, Self-care plan helps to steward trauma well. Okay?